Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYAFIQ bin KHAIRI. So today I want to present my final year project. My title is Determining Factor of Unemployment in Malaysia 4 years 1980 to 2020. So I'm using time series data. So my name is SYAFIQ bin KHAIRI again. My matching number is S5S54974. I taking Bachelor of Economic Natural Resource. We start with my introduction. Unemployment is not something new in our country, Malaysia. In fact, this issue is frequently raised every year. Every year, our country is shocked by the issue of the failure of youth, especially graduate, to get jobs. Certainly, the main cause has to do with the country declining economic situation. This situation has forced many companies or factories to go to bankrupt and lay off their employees. Not only were they laid off, but they also found it difficult to get a job in the near future due to the lack economic activity in the country. Unemployment rate in Malaysia is increasing at the moment. The main issue of the country economic development are employment and unemployment. If the country unemployment rate is low, then there will be continued economic growth. If the employment rate increase, then there is a wave of skilled manpower. The problem statement: the total number of unemployed from 1980 to 2020 is inconsistent. There is a decrease and increase in the number of unemployment in each subsequent year. In 1989, the number of unemployment in Malaysia was at its highest level at 460,000 people, while the lowest number of unemployed in 1997 were 215,000. In 1993 and 1994, the number of unemployed in Malaysia was the same at 231,000 people. Then, in 1998, show the highest inflation rate of 5.290342%, while the lowest inflation rate in 2001 was 1.416785%. In 1995 and 1996 show a similar inflation rate in Malaysia, 3.450575% respectively. Then the GDP growth from 1989 to 2003. In 1966, the GDP growth rate at its highest level of 10.0027. Meanwhile, the lowest GDP growth rate was in 1998 with the deficit of 7.32274. In 1989 and 1990, the GDP growth rate were almost the same at 9.05 at 481 and 9.009649 respectively. The research question of my study is: what factor influence the total number of unemployed in Malaysia? What factor influence the limited employment opportunities in Malaysia, and what are the factors of weakness in communication skill and the lack of work experience? So my research objective is to study unemployment factor in Malaysia, to study the factor of limited employment opportunities in Malaysia, to study the factor of weakness in communication skill and lack of work experience. My methodology: I am using secondary data from World Bank and Department of Statistics Malaysia and the Economic Planning Unit, and I'm using data analysis to descriptive analysis. This research study in long-run relationship between gross domestic unemployment, inflation, and influx of foreign worker before running a RDL method. These are the unit root tests to see whether the data is stationary or not. This research use unit root test and one of the precondition to find out of the order integration of the variable. The results show that at level I0, UNP and LFW are not significant, but GDP significant at 1% and inflation significant at 5%. At first difference I1, I1, all variables significant at 1% except unemployment significant at 10%. To find out which one of let be chosen by looking through the AIC and SIC lowest value, the result in the table show that in this research use let 2 due to the lowest AIC and SIC value and consider it as an option number of let. So that is my final auto-regressive distribute let at RDL. So my question test for ARDL is significant because the blue lines are not above and upper from the red lines. This is my question test for square test at RDL square. So it is also significant at 5%. The blue line are not exact the red lines. So my long run form, I get the F statistic is 10.927 from my sample 41 and independent variable 3. My dependent variable is unemployment, UNP. So my lower bound is 2.79 and upper bound is 3.67. So the result is significant because above the upper bound. The table shows that the F statistic is higher than I1, so we reject the null hypothesis. If the series are co-integrated, they have exhibit a long-run relationship. Firstly, implies the series are related and can be combined in a linear fashion. After that, even if the risks are short in the short run, which may affect movement in the individual series, they will coverage the time in the long run, hence estimate both long run and short run model. We not estimate vector autoregressive model. Appropriate estimation technique are the autoregressive ARDL and ACM. These series are co-integrated, so it will exhibit a long run relationship. Table above show that the Ramsey reset test, the F statistic is below 0.05. It means that the model used has not fulfilled the linearity assumption. Lastly, heteroscedasticity. An F statistic value above 0.05 means that the model does not contain the autocorrelation used. Because of the observations R squared are not consistent with the F statistic we choose, those who accept H null is the model does not contain autocorrelation. One of the assumptions that must be met for the estimate parameter in the regression model to be blue is that var must equal to the alpha 2 constant, or in other words, all residual or error have the same variance. Such conditions are called or more scarcity. Meanwhile, if the variant is not constant or changing, it's called heteroscarcity. Former tests for problem include the Bruce-Pagan-Gottfried test, the Harvey test, and the Glacier test, and the Arch test, and the Cosum test wizard. This test can be done directly with the EView program. So the result is for the heteroscedasticity test, F statistic is 0.76759 and the probability is 0.6190. So it is above the 0.05, means this model does not contain the autocorrelation. So conclusion from this research is the result of the study show that the number of foreign labour entering Malaysia show a positive effect on the number of unemployment in Malaysia. This statement is supported by a previous study which, according to the Chang 2002, has stated that foreign workers play an important role in reducing the unemployment rate in the early stage, which is before the recession. But after the recent world economic recession, the influx of foreign workers has increased. Next, we go to a negative relationship exists between the unemployment rate in Malaysia and the Malaysian inflation rate. Previous study directly support the result of study on this matter. The GDP growth rate Malaysia has a negative relationship with the amount of unemployment in Malaysia in this case of study. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.